Thanks, everybody. This is a little bit data intensive, so as Tom said, if anyone would like to move up a little closer to the screen, I don't know quite how well it's going to project over, but thank you all for coming. I may be making my own sort of self-promotion, but I think of all the seminars today, as I hope will become clear, this is probably the most critical one for everyone to attend, because we're dealing with costs, and costs are a big problem, as hopefully you'll see. So anyway, today, for the first time anywhere, this is a global launch. No one has seen this before, so I hope it's exciting. And we believe that this is actually a significant technical innovation. A lot of people talk about fintech, but we believe that this tool is really going to make a difference to your investment outcomes as we go forward. So let's talk a little bit about the impact of costs on an investment portfolio. We believe, well, I think it's not a question of I believe, it's a fact that the costs of your investments are the single largest factor or impediment to an investment outcome, without question. So I noticed today a lot of questions about income, a lot of questions about yield, a lot of questions about returns. To be honest, they're all relatively irrelevant as opposed to the cost that you're paying to hold and manage your investments. And as we go through the presentation, hopefully this will become evident. Just a few statistics to put this in context, to give us the size of the market. An approximate estimate that we collectively are paying £12 billion a year unnecessarily in investment fees to our investment managers. That would pay for we're effectively paying for the entire UK armed forces, the Navy, the Air Force, the Army, between now and the new year, in terms of what this is costing us. And it's money we needn't be spending. And that estimate is probably an underestimate, because I haven't included all the pension plans and everything else in there. And that's simply based on what we know is currently held in mutual funds on platforms. But perhaps more significantly than that is what do these, it wouldn't be so bad if we were paying all that money and we were getting something for it. The fact is we're not really getting anything for it. In fact, it's damaging our investment returns every year, every month, every week that we're holding these positions. So approximately, as a rough average, most people with a mutual fund on a platform will be paying something equivalent to 1.5% annualized management and platform fees a year. The result of that is that some 50 to 60% of your retirement or your investment earnings are going to get paid away during the lifetime of that holding in fees. I looked at my wife's pension plan, which she's had for 20 years with a well-known high street, Main Street provider. And after 6 letters, I found she was paying 2.9% in this pension plan for something which actually basically tracked the FTSE 100, for which she would receive about 30% of the net proceeds over the lifetime of this holding. 70% was going to get paid away. Now, if these numbers don't shock you, I don't know what will. But change is coming. We've had RDR here in the UK, so that's a start. The states have leapfrogged us, and they're bringing out in April 2017 what's called the Department of Labour fiduciary rule. What's critical about this new rule is that for the very first time, they are applying a legal obligation on financial advisors, or fiduciaries as they call them, to routinely not only check the investment returns of a client's portfolio, but also to check the expenses to make sure they are quote unquote reasonable. They haven't defined reasonable, they're leaving that, and this is again explicitly stated in the rule. They're actually encouraging class action lawsuits, or they want this to be resolved through the court or the judicial process. So class action lawsuits already beginning, it's going to be a mess. But the writing is on the wall. It's beware. The time by which we overcharge clients for holding their investments is over, and something's got to change. So that's the scene. But we're sitting here with mutual funds in our investment portfolios. How do we change? How do we reduce the costs of those holdings? So we have designed and built and will be launched shortly on the Equinity self-trade platform a product we call Etf Hunter, We're very excited about it. We think it has the potential to save UK investors literally billions and billions of pounds a year in unnecessary investment fees. And we would like to demonstrate how it works to you here today for the first time anywhere in the world. So we've switched over now, also another first. This is a live demo. We're frequently told not to do live demos at seminars because they always go wrong. We have backup if it does, but hopefully it won't. So on the Self-Trade website, you click onto our little owl here, and that takes us to the Etf Hunter, we hope. So a very quick 5-stage process in order to transfer your expensive mutual funds on an expensive platform into a very low-cost ETF. First step is select where you're currently holding your mutual funds. So let's say Hargreaves Lansdown. Quick click then, what kind of account are you holding those in? Is it a general account, a SIP, etc., whatever? It defaults down to what we know are their standard platform charges. If, however, you're not paying those fees for whatever reason, perhaps if you've got an account over 100,000, I think you apply for a lower fee, you can overwrite them, and we might demonstrate how easy it is simply to overwrite. Yes, one click, and then you plug in on the slider, you can plug in and change the actual fee to whatever it is that Hargreaves, in this case, sorry Hargreaves, I don't mean to pick on you, is paying you. We then click continue, and now we select our mutual fund. So we can search for mutual funds in a variety of ways, ISINs, tickers, or just a fuzzy search where you just start typing in the provider, and it will automatically find your mutual fund for you. We've got 55,000 mutual funds loaded into this thing, so there's a very high chance that we're going to have the funds that you're in. We've got 2,000 ETFs, this will become clear in a moment. And we are going to select here, purely at random, Jupiter European Fund, which is a big and popular UK mutual fund. Before we click on, if we just want to check on the performance of Jupiter European, we can go to what we call the detail screen. Here we can see the past performance of it. Seems to have done very well. We can see a number of the metrics. Again, this could be used for just everyday analysis or just making sure. I think the key thing I would like to just click on here is risks. You just click risks. So one thing, we didn't touch on the diversification seminar we had earlier today, but we're showing here the volatility of this performance. And for those interested in building up or managing their risk in their portfolios, just to be able to access these numbers is, I think, quite critical. So anyway, we're happy that that's the one that we've got in our mutual fund. We select it, we press continue. And now, by magic, it will find, out of our 2,000 to 3,000 ETF source database, those that most closely match this particular mutual fund. We matched to the original style initially, so I think this was a European large cap mutual fund, and here we're displaying just European large cap mutual funds. We are able to change that style if you wish. If you're not worried about the particular style it's invested in, drop-down box here gives a whole list of different styles. You can click all. Future versions will narrow that search down a little bit, but there are some 100 different styles you can choose to work with. Here again, we default to pound sterling because that was what the original fund was, but if we're not bothered about sterling and we want to click all or dollars, we can do all of those things as well. We then enter how much we've got invested in the mutual fund. So at the moment it defaults to £10,000. Let's leave it at that just for the moment. I'd like to show you the effects with a bigger amount a little bit later on. And the holding period, let's say we're looking for a 10-year holding period that we anticipate keeping this fund, and we're just going to throw in a 5% return. Tom said this morning, I overheard him saying that expected returns might be 7%, but let's keep it at 5. It doesn't matter what it is. You can put whatever you like in there. Similarly, we can click on the information button if we just like to check out on this iShares product and see some things about it. Again, a summary, all the risks, all the details of the ETF are all here for you to see and check, and so on. So now we go back, and here we go, as if by magic. We've selected iShares MSCI Europe, and we continue. And here it shows a couple of things. First of all, how they've performed over the last year by tracking with each other. It's probably not easy for you to see in this room, but trust me, the two lines, the purple and gray line, are actually pretty much overlaid, and that's kind of what we're looking for. We don't want to see any great variation there. And we project, feel a bit like an election broadcaster here, we're projecting that over 10 years that you will save £2,381 over the lifetime of this savings, lifetime of this investment. What's sort of critical here is, okay, 2,381, that sounds very nice. The reality is, if you hold the mutual fund at 5% over 10 years, you're only going to make about 1,200, or come away with 12,000. So you're only going to make £2,000 on that investment. By switching to this product, you're now going to walk away with 14,381. So you've effectively doubled your expected return over the lifetime of that holding. There are lots of other little technical features. You can scroll up and down the graphs to check out any particular time. But then if we just move on to, we're happy with this selection, hit submit. I won't go through all the details here, but this is effectively the summary of the trade recommendation. It asks you to acknowledge that you've read all of the necessary disclaimers and hit submit. That goes to Self-Trade Equinity, back office, and the transfer will be made. Don't ask me exactly how, but some of it's electronic, some of it probably a little bit more time consuming, because depending on the account type that you're holding it in, it may mean we could just simply liquidate the mutual fund and move cash, or move the entire account over. So that, in a nutshell, is the functionality of the Etf Hunter. We hope in due course to add additional functionality such that an entire portfolio can be loaded into this. So rather than click one by one each mutual fund at a time, we can data aggregate and bring in the entire portfolio. We hope also in due course then to add additional analytics at the end, which once you've got a portfolio of ETFs, we can help with some of the diversification problems, issues we were talking about a little earlier today, the seminar, run some various portfolio analytics, so it help you then manage this new portfolio of ETFs that you will be building. So that effectively is the functionality. And I thought it just might be fun. Does anyone in the audience have a mutual fund, or would anyone like to run a dry case to see if, yes?
Fundsmith.
I beg your pardon?
Fundsmith. Mutual fund.
Fundsmith.
Fundsmith?
Yes.
Can we do Fundsmith? I have an assistant at the back of the room here who's, it's not yet voice active. So Fundsmith, Equity One, accumulative, okay. And this is matching to a lot of ETFs. Let's try, we've got a similarity score. Sorry to walk across you. There's a similarity rating here. So this is our index here suggests this is matching to 98.9, the max being 100. So this should be a very close match. So if we press continue, well, we can see that apart from about a year ago, there seemed to be some divergence. Certainly since here, these two have matched each other almost identically. And you would save on £10,000, £1,500 by switching.